Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Argos Memories, where I look through old Argos catalogues and relive some nostalgic memories. And today we're going to be looking at the Argos catalogue from 2007 when I was just 11 years old. So it should be a fun one. So let's get stuck right into it and get going. So here is the Argos catalogue from 2007, and it looks very exciting with all these objects bursting out of the cover here. It even says there, bursting with choice, literally just everything bursting out there, including a giant dinosaur, Sony Ericsson. Yes, I had one of those. A mixer, and a flying ring, and a camera, and a sofa, and Optimus Prime. Oh, and a dart too. What a lovely cover that is. Oh, and he's holding a toothbrush too. I guess he needs them for those gnashes. How to Argos it. That must have been the slogan there. You've got to Argos it. I'm going to say that about everything from now on. I'm going to Argos it. Yes. Jewels of Distinction. Isn't that the Batman animated series font? That's about as much as I can say about the jewelry section. Oh yeah, there's the ones with names on them. Sister, auntie. I wish they should make knuckle dusters with like that. The same mum or auntie. Big earrings. Nan always had those. Huge earrings. Yeah, I could jump through those. Those are some creepy cubic zirconias. Yes. Look like weird robot aliens. Jordan. Jordan. I knew a guy called Jordan. He didn't look like that. Punky fish. Ooh, is this sort of the punk gear? I don't know. Would you wear that? If you're a punk, would you wear a fish bracelet like that? A bangle? Answers on a postcard. Jewelry insurance, because we know it's gonna break. Surf's up, big kahuna. What is this for the surfers? Like, he's trying to surf around that necklace, you better watch out. You're gonna have a serious wipeout, dude. The G-Shock watch. I mean, look at this. This is a good advert, isn't it? A man screaming in terror at this watch. It's like, put this on and you're gonna be in serious pain. The baby G range, pretty tough. We're not going to exaggerate too much. It's pretty tough. It's alright. Adidas. I run because it's summertime somewhere. What kind of slogan is that? Why is he thinking about a coat hanger with a pair of pants on the end? This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. There's a few girls' watches, Bratz and Barbie, Dora the Explorer, and oh, Fifi and the Flower Tots. Remember that? That was on Channel 5. On Milkshake in the mornings, it had a very nauseating theme song. Also, here's some boys' watches, like Simpsons, football ones, Power Rangers, Mystic Force, is that? Spider-Man watch, of course, Doctor Who, Transformers. I don't really have much to say about watches, except that, when I had one in school, I used to, set it, 20 minutes slow. So, whenever I was in the middle of a lesson and I looked at the watch, I think, oh, I've actually, it's actually later than it actually is, which means the lesson will seem like it's going faster. That's how desperate I was back then, and how bored I must have been in school, that I'd set my watch 20 minutes slow. Look at this sofa, that kid's happy. What's he reading, I wonder? Is he reading, an annual or something like that? And mum's enjoying, I don't know, Take a Break or something? That's me, that is. That's me just hogging the sofa, trying to get the TV remote. Like, Mum, get out of the way, I'm trying to watch TV. Well, look at that bed sofa, that's pretty cool. Now that would have been great for being lazy on as a kid. Now this is an interesting setup. He's got a little Xbox down there with his nice, I don't know, DVD player, I think. Yes. They always put the bare minimum, don't they? Just a few books and just a flower pot, maybe. It's not really a full lived-in space, these... I wonder how they made these sets or something. I wonder how they took these pictures. Oh, look, we had a dining table like that. Yeah, something like that. With the sort of higher, high-backed chairs, yeah. And, but we rarely ever ate around it. It was always like, you have your best room, don't you, in the front for Christmas dinner, and that's about it. It's like, no thanks, Mum, I'm eating in my bedroom. Some computers here, okay, they're still on the thick side, the monitors, so you can see a few slim ones there. I always wanted a nice little office, one of these little corner desks when I was younger. Sort of something like this. Or this. These nice big desks with lots of shelves and stuff. I always quite like the sound of one of those. Glass desks, yeah, I would have broken those. I could just see myself tripping and, cracking the glass, or maybe just going right through it and just cutting myself to ribbons. Yeah, those look like a recipe for disaster. Oh look, the first ever gaming chairs. Look at this. Yeah, look at there's a PS3 by there as well. So yes, this is when it all started. The gaming revolution, the gaming chair. I remember when these things started coming in. I always wanted one, but I never had one. And now, like, loads of people have these, don't they? Loads of kids have these gaming chairs. See, he's happy. He's got his first gaming chair. He's like, all right, man, I'm getting paid for this picture. We'll deliver your furniture fast, usually within 14 days. That sounds a bit tentative, doesn't it? You know, I think they're telling porkies there. I can't tell whether this is a sort of a girl's bedroom or a boy's bedroom. It's very, ambiguous, isn't it? It's a little bit ambiguous on the ambiguous side. There's the football bedroom. Remember that? The big football beanbag and the carpet. I must have seen a million of those in my cousin's bedrooms. These blue, I'm not sure. I wasn't really ever sold on this kind of blue mix with the woods. Oh, look, there's a Harry Potter book with this Prisoner of Azkaban. Yes, with football boots. And some more Harry Potter. I can tell those are Harry Potters from like a million miles away. That's really weird. Always with the acoustic guitar in a kid's bedroom. I had one of those, and I think I dropped something inside the hole. You know, like I dropped a toy inside like the all that, and you could always hear it rattling around every time you shake the guitar, and I could never get it out. Unlike this kid who was playing the guitar. Is there? Look, he's got a Robo-Sapien down there. Yeah, look at that, jiving to his tune, I guess. I mean, that is a pretty, full-on bed, isn't it? Like, it's decorated like a house. That's kind of crazy, even though it looks like her head's just floating inside that tube. This is definitely where I would have wanted, you know, like bunk bed up here with like my computer desk underneath. That kid is spoiled rotten. He's even got a little Dr. Octopus. Look at that, and a bowl of cereal too. He is living the good life. That is the life I wanted when I was 10, 11 years old. Oh, look at this one with a sofa underneath. Now that, and a dinosaur too. That's pretty ace. Now that I would have liked. That would have been fun. Here's an interesting pose by this kid. Is he practicing for like Romeo and Juliet or something? Like, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore thou Romeo? Ah yes, the fabled race car bed. Remember those? I remember there was one that actually had a steering wheel, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, as if you could drive the car straight out of the bedroom. The ready bed. What is this, a bed that goes on the floor? If you can't afford a mattress, you can just sleep on the floor. Yes, they do not look happy. I'm just gonna say it. They look pretty miserable, and sitting on the floor on a bed like that, who can blame them? The old Silent Night beds. Yes, remember that? The advert with the singing hippo and the duck. I had a mattress by them. Always liked those two mascots. The advert was on TV all the time. Oh yes, some kids bedding, of course. Bob the Builder. Lazy Town. I remember that. I've never seen that. That was very popular. But I was 11 in 2007, so I was a bit too old for Lazy Town. What else we got here? Ponies? Was that a spin-off of Bratz? Ponies. That's like My Little Pony, but fused with Bratz. That is strange. Pocoyo? I think that was on CITV. Doctor Who. I had bedding like that. Bart Simpson, of course. Yeah, and Scooby-Doo. So, pretty nifty. SpongeBob. Look at that. SpongeBob bedroom. Look at that. Bed tent. So you could even have a tent. And look at that, just SpongeBob area, a pillow, a blanket, curtains, a chair, and a rug. So if you were obsessed with SpongeBob, you could just have his face all over your bedroom. Transformers bed, first ever bedding based on the Michael Bay movie, and Power Rangers Mystic Force, which I've never seen, because I'd stopped watching Power Rangers. WWE, not WWF, SmackDown vs. Raw, Spider-Man bedding, Simpsons, and Ben Sherman. Who's Ben Sherman? Was he like a Marvel superhero or something? Oh, look, it's the wavy mirror. Look at that, the wavy mirror. When I look in those, I actually look normal. I always kind of wanted one of those lamps. I always kind of wanted a lamp that was a bit like the Pixar one, you know? Remember the lampies? There's a deep cut. She looks happy, even though the shower seems not to be spraying any water. So where's the water coming from? Or is she a water bender? For some reason I always wanted a shower cubicle, even though we never had one. Instead we just had, a bath with a curtain. I always thought it would be trendy to have, the cubicle. Instead I just had to have the curtain, kind of sticking to me. It's like the curtain was trying to hug me all the time in that bath. Ah yes, the Argos Quick Guide to Linen Storage. You put things in it. How complicated can it be? Ah yes, remember those plastic, transparent cases for all your toys. Those would be full of toys, full to bursting. They were really, really heavy like that, except they would be packed. Oh yeah, remember these things? These sort of zipper robes, I think they were called. These became popular around this time, kind of a fad, I think, like Dora the Explorer ones, Bratz again. SpongeBob, there he is again, SpongeBob, he was getting around. That's the one I had, the TARDIS zipper robe. Yeah, I remember buying that. I bought that from a Doctor Who exhibition in Cardiff, on my birthday, on my 10th birthday. I was going to blow all my birthday money on toys, and instead I bought that. And the only thing I really did with it was that I locked my brother in it once. Yeah, he wasn't happy with me, let's just put it that way. Always got to have the fireplace. Oh look, that's the one we had in my grandparents' house. That was there for years and years and years, that fire, with the remote control, and we always lost the remote. Couldn't really change channels on it, though. That was the only sucky thing about that. RSPCA, cuddly dog beds. Yes, well, it's nice to see the RSPCA doing something nice for once instead of putting guns to the dog's head. I'm surprised they didn't put that in the Argos catalogue. But look at that. There's a prison for your dog. You can just lock your dog in, like, a cell. That looks like the thing they used to trap, like, the Rugrats in. Like the playhouse, you know? You can just lock your dog in a prison cell. Great. I like a SpongeBob SquarePants gerbil house. Yeah, man, SpongeBob was just raking it in, man. I like a SpongeBob aquarium. What is with all the SpongeBob stuff? They were just milking him. I mean, that does make sense, though. That would be actually quite cool. That makes perfect sense, the aquarium. Yeah, the Disney toaster. Does it make Disney toast? Disney toast. Yeah, almost as good as Tubby toast. Oh, yes, the old Henry Hoover, yes. What is the appeal of the Henry Hoover? I don't know. I think it's the face. He's got that look like, yeah, I know, yeah. Look at the size of this Hoover. That isn't a Hoover. That is a giant threshing machine. What? Look at the size of it. That is enormous. I remember playing with a hot iron once when I was about 4 years old, and I left a massive mark in the carpet, and it's, like, still there. Oh, look, TVs, here we go. Television is changing with digital broadcast and high-definition technology. Yeah, so this is when all the flat screens started coming in, sort of all the digital kind of stuff, like the digital switchover, remember that? Starting this year, TV will begin to switch to digital. By 2012, the whole country will only be able to receive digital signals. Yes, remember when that started happening? When you couldn't use classic TV anymore. High definition contains 4 times more detail than normal ones, so everything had to be HD ready. I always had to say HD ready, and look at the first ever HDMI cable. It's huge, and the SCART one too. Look at that SCART cable, the posh SCART cable. Now people are like, what's a SCART cable? Spider-Man 3 on the TV. I saw that in the cinema the day it came out, and I thought it was great. Well, there's still a few classic TVs here, sort of the old 4:3 ones. Cheap though, £80, you know. Cheaper now than it would cost to probably get one on eBay. Freeview, now you run the show. I remember getting a Freeview box in around about 2006, and I was pretty obsessed with it. I was always watching it. You used to get a pretty good bunch of channels on there. Premium Sports, Setanta Sports. Remember this? Like, this was a big thing, Setanta Sports, and then it just completely went away after a few years. Like, everyone was watching it for, like, sport, and then it just vanished. I forget why, it probably went bust, but yeah, this was a huge thing. Like, even when I go on holiday, people would be watching this channel, but this was like the subscription stuff you could buy. Yeah, I guess they went bust at some point. Or like a HD DVD player. No one even remembers that now that there was a thing called HD DVD. That was like the rival to Blu-ray. But look how dear it was, 341 quid. But the Blu-ray player was 700 from Sony. Though it was actually cheaper to buy a PS3. That's where I just had a PS3 and it would play Blu-rays. Why would you even buy a Blu-ray player when the PS3 was cheaper? And you could play games as well, so it didn't make much sense really. But a bit more sense than this though, HD DVD, that went nowhere. Yes, the in-car DVD players, remember those? Those looked very trendy during that time. They look huge now though, they look very chunky. But yeah, to have a TV in the back of the car, that was always that would have been a massive treat. Instead we just had one of those like portable ones that just like, you know, the DVDs were always skipped. I remember once the only DVD we had was Ghostbusters 2 and we watched it like 9 times on the way to like the airport. End your remote control nightmare. Is it a universal remote? Yeah. These things I just remember being a nightmare because you just had to program them to like do everything, and I could never work out like what the codes were and stuff like that, so it was just a nightmare. Even she looks slightly, you know, terrified by the prospect of it. Aerials, yeah, you needed these for watching Freeview, so these were always a nightmare too, because you had to have them in like the exact position to pick up all the channels, otherwise it would just be like, you know, skipping all the time. Digisender provides an easy means of transmitting existing TV channels to other TVs without wiring. I bet this was a temperamental thing, yeah. I remember my dad hooked up a dodgy way of doing that with Sky once so I could have it in my bedroom. It was like one wire that went from downstairs TV all the way like snaking upstairs into my TV. Yeah, it was really like, you know, dodgy and complicated. Now showing on an iPod near you, Apple. Oh, so this is when you could like watch things on an iPod as well, like Captain Jack Sparrow, yeah. I always loved the sort of stock images they put on these. Like, when do you ever just like watch someone skiing? That's like always what the picture is. It's like someone skiing or like going through a jungle or something. It's always the same thing. Direct USB. That is a funky looking USB stick, isn't it? With like the lid on it and everything. That looks like she looks like she's just been electrocuted by it though. What a face that is. Now that is a hell of a unit, isn't it? Imagine having that many like simultaneous devices hooked up to like one thing. Is that a record player at the top? That's overkill, isn't it? When you need like 5 set-top boxes. That is a crazy setup. Spider-Man 3. Why is Spider-Man 3 on all the TVs? Like they were just, you know, it's all this Sony stuff, so it's always Spider-Man. HD cameras, which were mightily expensive back then. £1,000 for a HD camera. HD was a novelty. It was. You had to pay a lot to get that. Satellite navigation. Oh, this was beautiful. My dad had one of these, and he would always be shouting something fierce because it would never give the right directions. Digital cameras don't need to go to the Tesco's anymore to get it developed. You can just have it right on your camera. That made my mum's life a lot easier on holidays. Because all she does is take photos. You know, I've practically got a Flickr book of my whole life. That's how many photos my mum took. Oh look, digital photo frames. Remember these digital photo frames? Are these still around? I remember them being kind of a novelty. Like, I'd see them in the catalogues and stuff, but now I have no idea if people, like, if they even make these anymore. Yeah, those are a strange oddity. Mobile phones. So this is when all the flip phones were coming in. Yeah, look at that eBay and Google on your phone with that primitive internet browsing. Yes, the internet was very, very primitive on these phones. Yeah, look at that old eBay and old Google too. That is what it looked like on your phone to use the internet back then. Yes, Vodafone. Yeah, remember them? Yeah, with Sony Ericsson. Free Lost content. Get the Lost game. Oh yeah, so that's when Lost was on telly. There was a Lost game. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that much. It's probably a game of everything. Windows Live, Hotmail, YouTube. Look, YouTube is on your phone. You might be watching this on your phone right now. Isn't that spooky? Oh yes, the old cordless phones. This is when these started coming in. Yeah, I remember these. Yeah, the thing is though, every time we had one, but every time you used it, it always broke the internet. Like the internet would go off every time someone phoned it. So whenever the phone would ring, the internet would die, which was pretty annoying if you were a kid. Like Windows Vista, yeah, Microsoft Office 2007. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing, all the hip, trendy software you could buy back then. Wireless printing for everyone. Yes, I hate printers enough without having them being wireless, because that's like adding 10 times more complexity than there needs to be. Shredders. I always wanted a shredder, just for the fun of seeing something get shredded. Yes, simple pleasures in life, I think. Yes, skateboards. I was obsessed with skateboarding when I was 12 years old. You know, I bet these are all like those cheap ones though that have like plastic wheels, not rubber wheels, which is always a deal breaker if you're a skateboarder, by the way, because you will get no traction with plastic wheels. And those ramps, I had one of those ramps. I used to love it. Rail, I would have liked the rail, even though I probably would have like wrecked my you know what's on it. Oh, like bullseye dartboards. This is nice. I used to like bullseye on Challenge. Even has the old Tony Green. Look at that, in one, and Jim Bowen, super smashing great. Ah, look at that. They got the bendy bullies and the tankers and stuff. You know, even though Bullseye was long off telly by this point in time. It's shocking that even I know what it is, but there you go. Thanks, Repeats, for introducing us to all these classic game shows. Look at that arcade machine. Arcade Mania. I bet that is just full of, like, bootleg Atari games or something. Oh, there's a tabletop one, too. Yeah, that's definitely very 80s. Yes, very 80s. And like the moon suits, remember those moon suits that you could like sweat in like while you were jogging? My dad had one of those and it was the most embarrassing thing ever. Kirsty by Kirsty Gallagher. Well, that's sort of implied, isn't it, if it's called Kirsty? Body Tech. Look at that. Look, he's playing the PlayStation while using like the thing to make his muscles defined. He's like, God, I'm fabulous. The old treadmills, yes. I always wanted one of these treadmills because I just wanted to sort of like throw myself off it. Like set it to high speed and be like, what? Just throw myself onto like the sofa or something. Like something out of a cartoon. That's the only reason I wanted one. Dryer hoods, yes, those are definitely a sight, aren't they? Look at that, that's like a giant space helmet. The Philips shaver, sponsored by iRobot, apparently. That is the robot from iRobot, isn't it? Apparently that was the mascot for Philips back then. Look, fancy dress costumes like Elvis, Darth Vader, Captain Jack Sparrow, Spider-Man, and there's Austin Powers. Definitely. Are these adult costumes? Yeah, look, it's like Batman and Robin, like the entire cast of the 60s Batman show, Superman, Supergirl. Yes, the first ever cosplayers, everyone. The first ever cosplayers. Oh, look, Incredibles is here too. Why? What is that like? Imagine your dad turning up in that. You would just be like cringing for life. Oh, look, it's a Gizmo. Yeah, I think we had one of those. Yeah, we fed it after midnight and it didn't end well. Oh, here's some Simpsons stuff. Oh, I had that. Look at that. See that water cooler? I had that. I had one of those for my birthday in 2004, I think, and I used to love that. I used to like sit in the windowsill and just like make drinks all the time. And then one day I left it outside. I was like playing with it outside, and it just rotted away. And yeah, didn't work anymore. Yeah, that was good fun because it had like the fish inside, the three-eyed fish. So yeah, I used to love that. And like they got DVDs, so like there's all the movies that are out, like Click. Remember that with like the Universal remote? That was definitely a movie. King Kong. What was that, like Tokyo Drift? What were these, like $3.99 or $7.99? Puzzle Ball, the 3D Puzzle Ball Jigsaw. I remember that. The Simpsons one in particular, I remember those. That, you know, I was never the best at jigsaw puzzles. I used to like get too bored with them. But yeah, I remember seeing that and I'm thinking, oh, that must be a nightmare to put together. Probably take me like a whole day or two. Wasgage. What on earth is this? But the picture on the box is just a clue. The puzzle holds the answer. A twist on a jigsaw, I suppose. So that would have been taking me like a week to do. See, look, the kids' playpen is exactly the same as the dog one. That is really strange. Lots of cribs, yeah. I remember being 6 years old and like looking through the TV channels, and I saw Cribs on like MTV, and I thought it was a show about cribs, like baby cribs. Yeah, that's an admission I'm willing to make. So the sort of baby's toys, like In the Night Garden, this was a show on CBeebies. I think I never ever saw it because, as I said, I was 11 years old. So this is when shows started coming in that I wasn't really the most aware of. Oh, Teletubbies 10th anniversary apparently. So Ecuador, I think I kind of remember. I think there might have been an advert for that on TV. Noddy was still around, and Charlie and Lola again. Never seen this. The Backyardigans, that was on Nick Jr. apparently. Peppa Pig, oh yeah, is this when Peppa Pig started? I've never ever seen Peppa Pig, even though it's been on for like nearly 20 years. Barney was still around. He still had a little Barney toy, a little play set there. Lazy Town again, all the costumes. Again, this show was big, but just never saw it. Was too old for it by then. Bob the Builder, he was still around. Remember that? The little workshop? I knew a kid who had that. See, lots of shows I don't recognize. Go, Diego, Go. It looks kind of like Dora the Explorer, but I guess it was a guy called Diego instead. Rory the Racing Car. Yeah, all of this is like stuff that like I just didn't see. Little People, Fisher Price, for free video. I remember I had a Fisher Price video once and I lost it years and years ago, and I've completely forgotten what was on it. I think it was from the 90s, but I cannot remember it. VTech, all this fancy VTech technology. Was that a cheap gaming console? Like, look at that, Disney Princess or Scooby-Doo V-Disc, V-Smile Pro. So this was like a games console. Look at it, like SpongeBob was there, The Incredibles, Cars and Spider-Man. I bet those were definitely some interesting games on those. The old ball pits, remember those? Like Bob the Builder, Spider-Man. What is the appeal of just a pit full of balls? I don't know, but we loved it. Like High School Musical, the first ever appearance of High School Musical probably in an Argos catalogue. Yeah, this was like, was not a fan of this, but lots of kids were obsessed with it, and I was like, what are you talking about? Black & Decker toys to prepare you for an exciting life in the world of construction, kids. Always with the Smoby kitchens, you know. My cousins had one like that, and it was amazing. I loved it, but we could never afford one. Animal Hospital. They still made toys out of Animal Hospital? I cannot believe that. Because that was a program on TV. I'm not even sure if it was on in 2007. Maybe it was. Sylvanian Families. Yeah, I remember these. These were pretty expensive. Nintendogs. So they actually made toys out of the Nintendogs video game, apparently. Shaun the Sheep. Yeah, I remember him on CBBC. Yeah, he had lots of toys. Talking sheep, obviously. Oh, look, Scooby-Doo toys. I had that. That van. Yeah, that was a pretty cool toy with the van. And the Stretch Scooby, of course. They made it stretchy everything. There was a Homer Simpson one too. And the playset, that looks pretty cool. Would have liked that when I was younger. Puppy in my pocket. Hated that jingle. Girls' toys had the worst jingles. Brett's Dance Mat. Yeah, that's like does that work on the PS2? Maybe you could plug that into your PlayStation. It's got the symbols. These products are not toys. Bratz plugged in. So like Bratz TV. Everything was Bratz. Oh, look, see, High School Musical toys. So High School Musical was exploding in popularity, so here's all the goodies you could get, like a cushion and a sort of little bin for your stuff in your bedroom. And what pom-poms you could get, costumes, dolls they made, you know. I didn't have a clue what High School Musical was all about. They made a dance mat too, apparently. Some sort of cheap game. Yeah, I was not a High School Musical kid, were you? Oh, look, X Factor toys? They made toys out of the X Factor. This is how you knew, like, things were changing, isn't it? Like, all this new stuff started coming in that, like, even at that age, I was like, I don't know, I'm feeling a bit out of touch with all this stuff. Like, X Factor toys? Did not watch the X Factor. It was like they made a dance mat. A lot of dance mats they were making back then. Karaoke machine. And an MP3 player. Yeah. Strange. Dragons, yes. Dragons was the big thing back then. And I think I remember these. I think these were sort of, I think these dragon things came in little eggs. The box was like a dragon egg, and you sort of opened it up and the dragon came out. So yeah, I think that's what that was all about. I think we had one of those. It was like brown or something. Batman toys. I had a lot of those from the Batman. That was a Batman cartoon on Cartoon Network. But yeah, I remember having that with the Batmobile and stuff. I think there was a big Batcave too, and I definitely had that RC car, like Tyco RC thing that could go upside down, couldn't it? It could run sort of both ways up. Yeah, I think that's a cheap version though. That's not the real version. They always made the cheap version that was like 20 quid. Lego City, is that when this was new? I think this is when this started coming in. This ran for a long time. There were a lot of adverts for this on TV. That's a huge thing. I bet that took like 5 days to put together. I was never that great with Lego. It always took a long time to sort of put Lego together. And then it would always break. You'd always end up like stepping on it or something. All the pieces would go everywhere. And Bionicle, of course. I had quite a lot of Bionicle stuff, but they made a lot of waves of it. So this is like Bionicle Mari. I remember the original ones. Those were the ones I used to buy. So they don't really do things like the same. Everything's kind of licensed now, like Lego Star Wars, of course. Yeah, it's not much though. I mean, there's a lot more Lego Star Wars now. That basically this is what Lego is now. You look at it, most of it is like licensed things. So like any show has Lego of it, more or less. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be like Friends or something. It has Lego apparently. Magnetic Warriors, yes. Is that like trying to compete with Power Rangers? I don't know. Always have this right at the back of the Argos catalogue, the cheaper toys. Sort of cheap Power Rangers rip-off, like that rip-off Megazord. I remember those things you could put all the cars in. Trains, was never really into model trains. So yeah, it was all quite expensive, the trains and stuff. Or micro scale, I had that. Remember that, the Simpsons one? Yeah, I had that. In the early 2000s, they made a Simpsons Scale Extric. So it was like Homer and Bart on skateboards racing around this course, and they had like a mat you could put it on. It was pretty cool, actually. But the things would always fly off all the time. That was always the problem with Scale Extric, is that it would always fly off, and you'd be like, oh, where's the car gone? Gotta get it back, yeah. And these are all the fancy ones. Like that's 200 quid, that. Very expensive sets. Even though it's just a circle, you just go round and round in one circle, and I'd want something a bit more exciting than that for that kind of price. That looks mental. Look at that. That looks crazy. Now that's where I would want, is just all these loops, like a million loops and corkscrews and everything. And it's only 40 quid, so that's definitely a lot better. Argos, their cheap range was actually better. Like, look at that, with all the loops and stuff, and that is what I would have wanted. Probably would have been a nightmare to set up and build it all, though. Robots, is this Robo Sapien? Yeah, there he is, Robo Sapien. He was a very popular toy. They'd always have Robo Sapiens in Argos, and that's the V2, that's the version 2. I remember the original one. The original one looked a bit cooler, I think. And they made the Raptor. Where's the Raptor? There he is, Robo Raptor. I'm sure he was white though, but in this he's green. And of course all the rip-offs. There's the original one. That's the one I remember from the toys. And like Homer Sapien. They made a Homer Simpson one. Yeah, and a Spider Sapien too. They made Spider-Man. I actually forgot about that. Yeah, but that was a popular toy. And yeah, I never had one. They were always giving it away as prizes and stuff in magazines, but I never actually managed to get one. The real Tycho RC. Rad, the first flying robot. That looks like it's straight out of the 80s, doesn't it? Rad. Yeah, it's rad, dude. Spy Gear, that was on TV a lot. Like the lasers and stuff you could trick people with. Yeah, you could sort of put these lasers on your like bedroom door, and if someone came in, it would go, set off the alarm, which would be pretty useless if a burglar came in. I mean, you're just a kid, what are you going to do? Like, attack the burglar? More likely he's going to attack you, I think. CSI, they made CSI toys, like in case you want to reenact a horrible death sequence. Hot Wires, that was on telly. That was like a sort of experiment thing. The Golden Coin Maker, remember that? That was on telly all the time. The Golden Coin Maker. Not that it paid out anything. Didn't work. Wasn't real money, unfortunately. Hot Wheels, though, this is a lot more my style, I think. Crunch Zone, yeah. Is that where you could smash them into each other, like they meet in the middle? Sort of have one car at this end, one car at that end, and just crash them into each other. I had a Robot Wars toy that was like that. Hot Wheels was a bit more exciting, I think, than Scale Extric. Like that, look at that crazy thing. that crazy contraption, Spiral City. Yeah, the one I liked was the shark one. That was the one that was out a few years before this. V-drop, that kind of rings a bell. Like put that at the top of your door, was it, and drop it. That one I remember. That one was pretty crazy. Yeah, I bet the cars went flying off of that track. Cars are like Disney's Cars that was out by this time. I never saw this when it came out. I saw this for the first time like this year, actually. I watched it, and I didn't think it was that great. I wasn't that big a fan of Cars. Even when I was a kid, I was like, I don't really like the look of that. And then I watched it this year, and I was like, it's kind of a boring movie, but... You know, lots of kids liked Cars back then, but maybe I was a bit too old for it. All the cars, obviously, like Lightning McQueen and the truck, and is that a telly? It looks like a TV. I bet that's rare now. I bet that's a rare toy. Matchbox too. Matchbox was sort of a, you know, Hot Wheels competitor. So I had a haunted house, I think, a haunted house thing, but this was like a pirate ship. They always had the truck that opens up into other things. I had a Micro Machines one that was like that. Yeah, they were not skimping on the Cars merchandise. Here we go, the Batman again. I wonder if they have the Batcave. No, it's not there. They have the costume, though, so if you want to dress up as Batman. Yeah, they have the Batmobile and kind of a... Was that the Batwing? Was that the plane? I think it was. But yeah, I had a few of those toys. I had the Joker and Batman, and he had kind of rocket launchers on his shoulders and things like that. Biker Mice from Mars, remember that? That was on CITV, years and years ago, and it was like a revival, I think, like a short-lived revival of Biker Mice from Mars. I think it was on in the 80s or something, and then it came back. And Ben 10, of course, Ben 10. This was huge, this was Ben 10. I never actually watched it, my brother used to watch it, and I'd make fun of him for watching it. He's like, why are you watching that Ben 10 thing? That's for, like, babies. Yeah, Ben 10 was pretty huge back then, because you could get the watch and stuff that turned him into alien monsters from outer space. That was another thing that opened up, like, the car that turned into a playset with lots of slimy things, apparently, on top. Looks like a bit of a mess, actually, doesn't it? So, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. So this is, what, the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie? So, they made toys out of Pirates of the Caribbean, which I never had. Ninja Turtles. I had lots of Ninja Turtles toys, but what is this version? Fast Forward? Oh, is this when they changed it into sort of a time travel kind of thing? I think I remember that. That was on Jetix back then. I think I'd stopped watching it by then, though, but they were still making lots of Ninja Turtles toys. TMNT, I think that was the movie, the 2007 movie. So, that had a tiny section. So, they didn't make much merch of that, apparently, but it holds all 4 turtles, which is what you want, of course. Transformers, is this the first Michael Bay movie? Because this was also huge, and they made lots of Transformers toys. Oh, where is he? The big Optimus Prime. Even one of those, my brother had one of those, it was a big one. Soon forgotten about after about a year. It's always the way with big toys. You start playing with it for a bit, and then it's like, I don't want to know about that anymore. But I was never into Transformers. I had a couple Transformers in the sort of early 2000s, but I wasn't really crazy about it. I liked Cubics, I did. Yes, these were only at Argos, these ones were. So these were Argos exclusive, because Argos, they used to have a lot of exclusive toys. I remember dressing up as, I used to dress up as Power Rangers, that's where I always was Power Rangers. Oh, look, there's the first voice changer helmet. I talked about that in my, was it the magazine video? Yeah, the Darth Vader voice changer helmet, but they made an Optimus Prime one as well. And there was a Doctor Who one, I think, Daleks. Yeah, oh, here's more my limit. I think Spider-Man 3, yeah, so Spider-Man 3 had just come out around that time, and I saw it the day it came out, actually, in the cinema. I saw it the day it came out, and it was great. It was great fun. But they made loads of toys, and I remember collecting some of these. So these, I think it was, the sort of action figures, because they made, you know, all, you know, like Harry Osborn and Spider-Man. They did Venom. I remember they'd like re-released figures from the old movies. It was like Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus. And they did ones from the video games too, I think. There was like Scorpion and Shocker, I think they did. So they sort of did all these re-released toys. Spider-Man and Friends, I kind of remember that. That was like a baby's kind of version of Spider-Man, where he's got obviously a big head. Because apparently that's what you do with babies' toys, is give them all big heads. And Spider-Man Monopoly, I wonder what that was like. What on earth was that like? Is it just like New York or something? Nerf guns, I don't know if those have just started coming in, but now you see those Nerf toys everywhere. If you go into a toy shop, there's more Spider Sapien. Oh, they did a black one too. They did like the Venom kind of Robo Sapien. Yeah. Oh, like those cheap games. I remember those cheap handheld games. You know, they would cost next to nothing, and they would be like, you know, just lousy Tiger games. Is that Spider-Man? A Spider-Man pencil? His legs are gone, and it's just a pencil. That is bizarre. And even more Spider-Man 3. Oh, they were not short on Spider-Man 3 merchandise, was it? This is Mega Bloks, I think, or Lego. Sort of, you could reenact the end of Spider-Man 3 in Mega Bloks form, and more Spider-Man toys. They all kind of look the same a little bit, don't they? I mean, that looks the same as that one, more or less. Wow, what on earth is that? Number 12, where is that? Spider-Man Studio, trained to be your favorite superhero with Spider-Man. So what is that? Like some kind of virtual reality, like punch things or something like that? Can't remember that telly, though. Look at that classic... Square TV, or dress up as Spider-Man, because that's another thing. I used to dress up as Spider-Man all the time. Pokemon, there's a bit of Pokemon. Not much, though. Just sort of a Pokédex kind of thing. Which is surprising. You'd think there'd be a bit more Pokemon. Power Rangers, Mystic Force, yes. I had long stopped watching Power Rangers by this point. I stopped watching it. When did I stop watching it? Like, Wild Force, I think, is when I stopped watching it. I saw a little bit of Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder, but not on a regular basis. So Mystic Force, I definitely didn't see this. It's all the same, really, Power Rangers toys. Just the figures, dress up, of course, the guns, the laser blasters, and a stretchy one, apparently. More the normal figures. Like, that's the type of stuff that I would get, the motorbikes and things like that. Yeah, and here's all the Megazords. There we go, the big expensive Megazords that transforms into 3 modes. Doctor Who, yes, I used to watch that around this time. Doctor Who. There's the changer helmet. That was it, the Dalek mutant thing. Yeah, this is when Doctor Who, I suppose, was at its max when it comes to merchandise, I suppose, when they were making toys out of just about everything. I had a lot of these. I had pretty much all of these, I think. Is that Captain Jack, I think? And the pig. I don't think I had the pig. I had that, though. I had the spacesuit thing. Was that the Face of Bo? Yeah, $14.99. There's the TARDIS. Remember that? The TARDIS that you could put him in. I think I had like a spinning thing, like you could spin it. I had one that was like a money box. It was like a money box. Like you opened it, it was just like a picture of Christopher Eccleston. So you couldn't actually put figures in the TARDIS, but you could put money in it. Yeah, and look at that Cyberman outfit. That's not a very good Cyberman costume, is it? It's just a bit on the cheap side. Looks like it's made out of tin foil. Like most classic Doctor Who monsters that just look like, you just covered them in tin foil. Remember that? The screwdriver, the sonic screwdriver. You could write on that, couldn't you? You could write on like a piece of paper and it would be like a hidden message. You'd have to like shine it on the sticky notes and it would be like you could write secret messages. I used to write them on like the walls and stuff. So for all I know, at my old house there's probably still like messages like saying like, I don't know, Doctor Who is awesome or something like that. Action Man dolls, I think they were. I think these were like Action Man dolls. You could like dress up David Tennant like an Action Man doll. Why has he's not finished on the back? Why are his baubles not on the back? I have no idea. Is that like a prototype or something like that? Oh, look at that. TARDIS playset. I had that. That was the best toy, I think. That was the best toy because, I mean, it's the TARDIS, right? The full TARDIS and put the figures in it. I made sounds and everything. It was quite expensive. I think I got that for my 10th birthday. That was a really cool playset. That worked with just about everything. You could put your Star Wars figures on there. You could put your Spider-Man. You could put your Doctor Who. And it was great with whatever toys you wanted because it was just a good set. Star Wars Transformers. Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, they made Transformer Star Wars toys that could turn into a Death Star, apparently. We had that TV game where you could, like, swing the lightsaber, and it was like a really bad Wii remote. Yeah, it was like a game, like a really bad Wii game, just with a lightsaber. Big, fancy lightsabers. Remember there was one lightsaber that could, like, you could flick it out and just put different blades on and turn it into a gun and stuff. It was, like, really complicated. Robin Hood. Oh, this was on telly, wasn't it? Wasn't this on BBC One after Doctor Who? This came and went. This was not, I don't think this was popular, but apparently they tried making lots of toys out of it. Harry Potter, not much about Harry Potter, surprisingly. The Room of Requirement playset with Cho Chang. Yes, there you go, the Room of Requirement. It doesn't look like much, does it? It looks pretty bare for a playset. Is that Sirius Black? Reenact the moment when Sirius Black dies and falls through that weird void thing that was never really explained. I don't know. 20Q. Remember that? 20Q? That was on telly all the time. They would show, like, I think they were kind of like American adverts. It would be like, hey, look at this 20Q thing, man. And it would be like, oh, this thing is awesome. I remember seeing these brick things, You'd see them in, like, Topshop or something, I think. Like clothes shops. Not in, like, toy shops. They'd be in, like, the clothes shops. Test Tube Aliens. Those were... There was a thing called Alien Cosmolites. That was where I used to get. It was called Alien Cosmolites. They were like aliens in eggs. And they would hatch out after a while, and they would be like all slimy and disgusting, and Test tube aliens was like the thing that came afterwards. I don't think they were quite as disgusting though, because alien Cosmolex was like really slimy and gross. And it was great. Oids, Oids, remember that? Those were useless. Remember those? Those were big in like '06. Everyone had one of those. It was like you'd throw them up in the air, they'd stick together, and that was really about it. They didn't really do anything else. Oh, this Stretch Homer. Yeah, remember him? They had an advert for that. It was like something like two kids were clocking in and like stretching Homer, and then they clock out like it was a job. I remember that advert. I need to look up that advert. I wonder if that's on YouTube somewhere. Spears Games, so cheap games. Tension Tower. So when you can't call it Jenga, you call it Tension Tower. I always had a bit of a game of Jenga. Yeah, loads of those at my nan's house. Just building Jenga towers and making them collapse. Like, I remember those snooker ones, the balls would go everywhere because they were so small, those little tiny snooker tables, you just lose the balls. Kazoo, I had that. That was a pretty crazy board game. It was like you could make stuff and draw stuff and make stuff out of clay and put on 3D glasses and things like that. I remember that being quite a fun game. Toonatic. Is that a game out of Toonatic? They made a game out of that? That is mental. Toonatic was like a block on CITV. I don't know, is that Stephen Mullen again? It might be. That was when they'd show, all the CITV cartoons. Toonatic. Twister, that would always get everyone falling over, wouldn't it, Twister? You'd just be falling over each other. Sabutio, that was, I had one of those. I had like a hand-me-down Sabutio. It was like a big football set, like you'd build your whole big football pitch and it had all bits and pieces, and all I'd ever use it for was for fighting Star Wars toys. And Spider-Man and things like that. I didn't, because I wasn't into football, so I was like, that's a great set just to have a big fight with all your toys, just all the toys would have a big fight on the football pitch. That was the use I got out of Sabutio. Hungry Hugh, something like that. Hungry Huey. I think I remember that. It says as seen on TV, so that was an advert. Donutters, that was on TV. You would look like a right Burke dressed up like an elephant. You'd have to put the elephant mask on. That was on telly. Horrid practical jokes and gross magic. I remember those being on TV until like 2010, something like that. Tumbling Monkeys, I remember that. I think it broke though. It was made out of plastic, and I think I dropped it and it went shattered, into a million pieces. Robodoc, we had that. Robodoc, kind of like Operation, but it was like a spinning robot. And Shh, Don't Wake Dad, yes. I remember the advert for that. I always wanted that game, but I remember a friend of mine had it, like, just sitting on his shelf, but he never really brought it out to play with it. It was like he'd just forgotten about it. Dora the Explorer Scrabble, my first Scrabble. So she would teach Scrabble, apparently, Dora the Explorer. Oh, the Simpsons Scrabble. Why didn't I have that? I would have liked that, Simpsons Scrabble. High School Musical DVD game? Is that when all the DVD games started coming out of the woodwork? Harry Potter ones. Twilight ones, I think they made. Twilight DVD game, I remember. Uno, which I always wanted, just for the simple pleasure of spraying some of all those cards. And here we go. More DVD games. Harry Potter, seen it, and Friends, seen it. I've never even seen Friends. I've never, ever seen it. Not my cup of tea. More Parker games. Yes, you can't forget the Parker games, like classic Monopoly. Because the thing about the Monopoly is that people would always argue about what thing they wanted to play as. So like, always wanted to be the car. No one wanted to be the iron. It's like, I don't want to be the iron. What are you crazy? The iron's rubbish. That's what Monopoly was like. You'd have to argue for 2 hours before you got to actually play it. Cluedo, Simpsons Cluedo. That looked cool. I remember that. The Simpsons Cluedo. Oh, Catchphrase. Look at that. Catchphrase game. There's no host on it, though, because Catchphrase wasn't really on telly around that time. Yeah, so it's just Mr. Chips. There's a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire one. I had a bunch of those DVD games, the ones that you put in, like Chris Tarrant would like berate you if you lost, I like Noel Edmonds, Deal or No Deal. So he had every game under the sun. Noel was raking it in. He had his board game, his electronic game, his little handheld one. Even though there's no game really, it's just opening the boxes. Rubik's Cube, which I was never very good at solving a Rubik's Cube. I think I got so bored with a Rubik's Cube once, I peeled off all the stickers and just, ripped apart the Rubik's Cube until there was just a bit of plastic inside. Oh look, remember those rip-off Game Boys? Those were terrible. I even think, did they say Nintendo on it? If those were licensed by Nintendo, those were not very good. They were like really bad Tiger Game versions of Donkey Kong and stuff. Bob It's Extreme, that was like the extreme version, because everything was extreme, wasn't it? It was like, extreme version. Yeah, like it was the 90s, because in the 90s, everything was extreme. And in the early 2000s, I don't know, it was like Beast. That's what people used to say. Oh, that's like Beast, man. Yeah, no one says that anymore. Oh, look, the plug-and-play video games N-Joypad. That probably lasted about 5 minutes back in the day. I had one of those. It was kind of like a Nintendo 64 controller. It was just all like, like lousy kind of Atari type games. that's what it was like. It was like you plug it into the TV and just play like really old-fashioned video games. There's a Scooby-Doo one, because yeah, they made ones out of TV shows. There's the Star Wars one, like you could fight General Grievous, I guess. They did loads of those. They did Ben 10 ones, I think, and other cartoons at the time. They were like loads of them. Creation Station, so that was like a camera where you could probably... It was like an early green screen. Oh, look, it says YouTube too. Share with one click to YouTube. So did anyone ever do that? Did any kid ever share that on YouTube? NetJet, instant online gaming system. So what is this? NetJet controller gives you fast and easy access to a great online games arcade. So this is online gaming in '07 apparently. What is it, like a key? Put the key in the controller and then put it in the computer? Looks kind of bizarre. No pop-ups, no adverts, none of those pesky pop-ups. Swipe out online battle racing. So I guess they were trying to get into online gaming around this time. Bowling, little bowling alley. That's the problem. See, I never would have had room for that. Never would have had room. Not even the living room probably wouldn't have been big enough for that. But here, have we got video games now? Here we are, the Xbox 360, yes. So, launching '07, is it? So was that a new Xbox? Oh no, it was the Elite. Yeah, I never had an Xbox 360. So coming soon, Halo 3, Grand Theft Auto 4. Is this all like placeholder box art? I think it is. Like, look at that Sega Rally. It's just the words on it. Viva Pinata, remember that? That was a cartoon, wasn't it, on TV? But there you go. You could get Viva Pinata or Elder Scrolls, is it? Oblivion? I think I know which one people would pick. I think they'd probably pick Elder Scrolls. Oh look, there's Sonic 06. There he is. Look at him, Sonic 06. I played that like a few years ago and played it all the way through, and yeah, it is as bad as they say it is. I remember renting it once from Blockbuster on the PS3, and I like gave up after like, you know, the first 2 levels because it was like such a bad game. That was a waste of $5.99 or wherever it cost to rent something at Blockbuster. We had more controllers, Xbox Live that you had to pay for the internet service, didn't you? The PS3 one was free, I think, but I think the Xbox you had to pay. I think everyone charges you for it now, don't they? I think so. Well, like it comes with HD DVD player. Yeah, you had to buy a separate drive to play HD DVD discs on an Xbox 360, and that format went nowhere. That was dead in like a year. But and the Xbox didn't even give you the courtesy of letting you play it out of the box, so you had to buy the drive, the separate drive. PlayStation 3 now, so this is what I had, PS3. That was the version of Sonic 06 that I played, and that was the version of Spider-Man 3 that I played, which also wasn't that great. Spider-Man 3 was not that great compared to the Spider-Man 2 on the PS2. Yeah, MotorStorm, that was the game that came out of the box with my PS3. That was the first PS3 game I ever played, yeah, because it came with it. I got that for my 11th birthday. I got a PS3 and I went to see the Simpsons movie, and I got lots of popcorn and a big drink, and it was a really pretty good birthday. That was the other game that came with it, Ridge Racer 7, so I got 2 racing games and Call of Duty. That was basically what gaming became in the PS3 era. It was just everyone played Call of Duty, that was it. And it was like, wasn't that exciting to me, so I kind of stopped playing video games really. Yeah, it was 425 quid. Yeah, that was the sort of bog standard price for it. That was the one I had before they changed the design, the big fat one. And it played PS2 games as well, but it was terrible at it. I remember I put Ratchet and Clank into it once, and it was just like, it was running at something like 5 frames per second. It was so slow. Look at those cheap controllers. They were horrible. Don't ever buy third-party controllers. They just do not work at all. Oh, look, the Blu-ray remote. I still use that. I still use a PS3, actually, to watch movies on. Because it's actually quite a good Blu-ray player, the PS3 still. Because the PS3, it was a lot better as kind of a media player than it was a video game console. PSP, I never had a PSP. I always wanted one, but never had one. Yeah, so they had a lot of PSP games. A lot of them were kind of, they sort of shrunk down versions of PS3 games, like Crazy Taxi, like Burnout. They'd make kind of PSP versions. But how much was the PSP? 130 quid. So it wasn't that bad. Is that Crash Bandicoot? That is, yeah, that's Tag Team Racing, isn't it? Yeah, I remember that weird racing game that ran on the Simpsons Hit and Run engine. So it's like, you can tell it's like Simpsons Hit and Run. They've just put it like a Crash skin on it, so which is kind of strange. Free speaker. Look at those. That's pretty obnoxious for your PSP, that speaker system. Star Wars Battlefront 2, that made it the PSP. I think it was different, though, to the PS2 version. Sims 2, that must have been pretty limited on the PSP, because I remember that on the PC, and it took 4 discs. My cousins had it, and every time I went over to my cousin's house, I was like, can we play The Sims 2? I was like, well, we got to install it first, and they'd open the box, and it was like 4 discs. So I was like, disc 1, put that in, take it out. Disc 2, put it in, take it out. Disc 3, put it in, then disc 4, and then finally you could play The Sims 2. It was a really like big game, so I don't know how they managed that on the PSP. More PSP accessories, cases, pretty fancy cases, aren't they? Sort of like you gotta close them, lock them shut. That looks like a sock. The PSP sock, everyone. That is the best accessory ever. Oh, here's the PS2. So luckily, the PS2 was still available back then. You could still get the PS2, of course. But mine, I think, had gone bust by this point. Yeah, I had my original PS2 sort of disintegrated. I know, it just kind of stopped working. It stopped reading discs. Madagascar. I think I played the demo of that once. Yeah, I remember all those movie license games. They just don't make movie license games anymore, but they used to make them out of everything. A lot of there's still quite a lot of PS2. I'm surprised, actually. I thought it would just be one page, but I guess a lot of kids still had a PS2. PC games, yeah, so PC gaming. A little bit more sophisticated, I would say, by this point, was PC games like Crysis, The Sims 2 rebranded. Yeah, that was the one that took 4 discs. I had a couple of movie games, I think, on PC. I had a South Park game on the PC, like the original South Park game. Yeah, and I had a Lemony Snicket game on the PC. So we had a Wii. Yeah, we had a Wii. So we had, I think we had that Zelda, but we mainly used to play just the Wii Sports. That was great, I thought, with the, the golf and stuff and the boxing. So that was mainly what we used to play on the Wii. There weren't a lot of other games that we played on it, because the Wii, it wasn't really a hardcore gaming console, was it? It was a lot of, like a lot of the games were watered down, like Spider-Man 3, that was probably watered down for the Wii. It tended to sort of favor party games, I would say. How much was the Wii? 180 quid. Games consoles, it feels like they were a lot cheaper back then. Now they're like 500. Rayman, Raving Rabbids. Isn't that when Rayman changed to like, the Rabbids took over for some reason? Like Rayman kind of went away and they changed it to this Rabbids thing. That's what they did with the Wii, is they put all these like weird things. So like, you put a golfing club on top or a tennis racket. I don't think it really made any difference. Happy Feet. I saw the second one of that once, and it wasn't very good. I never saw the first one. I saw that as like, you know, like when it's Christmas time and like you go to the cinema, like as a school trip. I was like, we went to see Happy Feet 2. And I was like 14 at the time, I think 15. It was like, you know, not the kind of movie you take a year 10, 11 class to see. Anyway, Meet the Robinsons. I saw that a few years ago. That was like a generic kind of Disney film. But apparently they made a video game out of it. I do not remember the video game. Oh, Game Boy Advance, so that was still around. That's unbelievable. I'm surprised, actually. I thought it would be all DS by this point, but the Game Boy Advance had games, and they're quite old games. Like, look at this, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because that came out in 2005. Had that on the PS2 and enjoyed that. Narnia and Dino Thunder. See, the Cyber Chase? Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase? That is like, when did that come out? Like 2001? And it's still in a 2007 Argos catalogue? Maybe they still had, like, stock they wanted to sell. They were like, we can't get rid of this Cyber Chase game. Anyway, here's the DS. New releases from only £25. We had that, Sonic Rush Adventure. Wasn't that the one with the purple cat character? Harry Potter. I wonder what that was like on the DS. That probably wasn't like the PS3 version. And Spider-Man 3. They were probably like side-scrollers or something, because they usually watered things down for the DS. Big Brain Academy. I used to play that a lot, actually. Yeah, I was always like trying to get like an A+ grade. I think I got to like B or B+ or something like that. Transformers Autobots. Yeah, we had that. There was one called Autobots and one called Decepticons. You know, they split it. I don't know why they split it up into 2. I think it was the same game. It was just like they reskinned the characters or something like that. But I remember playing that. You could like, it was a free roaming game. So it was actually, you could drive around the city as a Transformer. I do remember playing that a little bit. Nintendogs, they made a lot of those. And Dogs with a Z to make it look cool, I guess. Incredibles remember that Rise of the Underminer? That was like, before The Incredibles 2, they actually made a sequel in video game form. Sometimes they do that. I don't know if people remember that, but there were like certain games that were like sequels to movies. But, you know, even though the sequels didn't actually exist. There was a Hulk game that did that. It was like, you know, like the 2003 Hulk movie. And the game was like a sequel. It wasn't actually like the movie. But they did that with The Incredibles, where they made it, you know, the Underminer movie. But then they made Incredibles 2, which I guess completely retcons all that. So now it's, I guess that's like an alternate universe thing, that game. And there's a Spyro game, Spyro Shadow Legacy. I don't remember that. Was that based on the kind of fantasy Spyro thing they did? Because they did like a Spyro trilogy that was like all sort of, they kind of turned it into a Lord of the Rings type thing. It wasn't as good as like the originals. I did play through them, but they weren't that great. It had like an okay story, but not like a great gameplay. Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam, that was like a spin-off of Tony Hawk. I love the old Tony Hawk games, they're great. Some of my favorite video games, because I was huge into skateboarding when I was like 12 years old, so, you know, I was like a, you know, skateboarding fan. And look at that, Crash Boom Bang. Wasn't that like a lousy party game? Oh, look, another DS sock. What is with what is with the socks for your video game machine? Musical instruments? Oh, so I think we're out of the games, people. Keyboards, though, I remember there were loads of these in school, these keyboards, and people would just find ways to mess around with them. So rather than playing like the tunes, they'd always find the button that made like stupid noises, always get told off by the teachers. So there you go. And batteries. Oh yeah, the most exciting part of any Argos catalogue is the batteries, because, I mean, you do need loads of them if you buy, like, all your toys, especially when you're a kid, because sometimes they wouldn't give you the batteries, so that is actually kind of important, is that you need batteries. I mean, there's not much to say about a Christmas tree, is there? Pet insurance, could you afford £1,000 vet's fees with a sad-looking dog? You might as well put a gun to its head and just copy the RSPCA. Credit card, not your ordinary credit card, a very overpriced credit card. Finally, there's a picture, just a sofa. Yeah, look at that. They're not even looking at each other. They're not even acknowledging each other. Maybe it's a broken marriage, who knows? And I think that's it. That's the very end of it. So yeah, that is the complete, you know, that is it. So that concludes this edition of Argos Memories. So if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe and keep those memories alive. So take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.